This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4. Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Garza, and welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start differently today. You can hear the giggle in the background already, because I am not going to send a thank you, sir, to Mr. Mike Moyers, Mr. Camm Moyers. And of course, I would mess up your name when you're on the show.
What's his face? Yes.
I will personally say hello and thank you, Mr. Camm Moyers. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. This has to be my 6th or 7th time, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think now it's like almost every 50 episodes or so, you come back in and you come back into my life. For a brief second, we have a little relationship and you escape again.
Well, yeah, as though that's true. It's a brief second.
You're like Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Why not? It's usually around my birthday, and it's a little after my birthday this year. So yeah, usually in March sometime. So it's easy to keep track for me. But.
So for those of you listening, we are celebrating today. Put It Together. Today is 250 episodes old.
Yeah.
We've been on the air since February 12th, I believe, 2012. So we started 7 years ago. Yeah. Put It Together only took a little break during my cancer period. But even then, Mr. Moyers was always kind enough to keep you folks posted with videos that I was doing for my cancer video blog, and after that, my ostomy video blog. So if, as we speak and you're like, where the hell? Go to abnormalentertainment.com.
Yeah.
Look for Put It Together and scroll back to about May of 2015. And you can start searching, and the videos will be there. There are videos that I was doing I guess, keep track of my cancer or whatever.
Yeah, I think you needed that for your own self, your own progress, and just to kind of keep yourself motivated while you were going through it. So.
Yeah, and so thank you for that. It kept me relevant in people's ears and eyes. But don't go there expecting any like, life is great. I'm surviving cancer. Yay me.
Yeah.
No,
not at all.
These are snot rolling, crying, ugly face.
Yeah.
Very raw. So, yeah. But we're not going to get back. We're celebrating 250 episodes. Why are we talking about cancer?
Well, it's good. And actually, if you want to stay on the cancer topic for just a second, some more happy news. Our friend Leah, the wife of the masked blogster, just found out a few days ago that she is now cancer-free.
Oh, excellent. Bravo. Yeah. Bravo.
So that's positive here.
So that's a good thing for celebration. It's always, although that period was a little, should I say, was a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
It's all behind me now, and we're doing good. So we're still good. So cheers to 250. I don't want to move too far forward without acknowledging Mr. Camm Harston,
Mm-hmm.
one of the original producers of the show, who I will always and forever tell the story that he did not want me on the network.
Yeah.
If it had been up to him, I would not have been in this network. I would have been sucking butt somewhere else. But here's to Mr. Harston, who originally did not want me. I challenged myself to impress him.
Yeah.
We became great friends, and after that, he became one of my biggest champions. Anything and everything that I wanted to get into, he would always be so supportive. And Mr. Harston, we love you and we miss you, and but you're here in spirit with us, so thank you.
Well, and I told you before we started, I did try, and I'll show it on camera. This was Cam's microphone. His roommate in Portland got it. His mom and brother collected all of his stuff when they were up there. When he passed, but they left his microphone, and his roommate sent it to me. And this is the first time I tried to use it. And, of course, it isn't working. So Cam still has his little dumb jokes that he's playing on us right now. So, yes, 4 years later, and he's still doing it. So, and we had, endless, especially at Raise Your Spirit, endless, constant troubles recording, and things didn't work. And so it's perfect that this microphone does not work right now.
Of course it would.
It's fitting, yeah.
So how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. A little tired after a run of 3 straight weekends with conventions, but another one coming up in 2 weeks that I'm very excited for, and that's El Paso. So.
Oh, I like El Paso. For those of you that don't know or don't follow our shows that often, Mr. Moyers has Bunny 17 Media, which is his own book production or literary production
publishing label, I guess you could say, yeah.
Yeah, don't let his looks confuse you. The man can write and read. If you haven't had a chance, follow him, check him out, find out where he is, and go visit him. His daughter is usually with him. She is an illustrator in her own right. I guess you can say that now. She is an illustrator.
Yeah.
She has a book published.
We've done 2 books together now.
Wow. So she did not get your brains, which is good.
Well, she and I had this discussion recently. I was like, well, you're cool because of me. And she's like, no.
She is, I have to give her credit. She's one of those kids that I like to kind of pick on because she can take it and she dishes this out. Just like she gets it. So it's pretty cool. But she is really smart. Don't tell her I said this because it'll go to her head, but she's pretty smart and she's pretty intelligent. She carries herself like an adult sometimes, and it's scary. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
No, it's when you were here last summer, she had fun. She planned messing around with you and stuff like that. So, she thinks about it ahead of time sometimes, like, oh, I'm going to get him with this or that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Which goes to prove that she's evil.
Yeah. Probably a little bit.
So, again, Mr. Kevin Moyers is here today celebrating my 250th episode. So it feels weird because there's no topic. You've been my guest. People know your story.
We don't have an agenda, so to speak. Even last time, the book stuff was still fairly new, so I could talk about that. But I'm in almost 2 years into that now. And, feel free to go to bunny17media.com, go get some stuff. But, beyond that, it's more like just kind of, I was thinking about looking back a little bit at the time you spent with this because, you did start out just talking to a few people here and there. Then you did some group chats now and again, and then you've done, different events that you've interviewed people, video, all that stuff. Is there a type of person that you've wanted to talk to that you haven't, like in a specific industry, or maybe somebody who's had a certain experience that you, like, I want to talk to somebody who climbed Everest or something like that. You know what I mean?
Good question. And I was kind of afraid, I was kind of like fearing that you were going to ask questions, and I was like, fuck, I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what he's going to ask, which is really the way this show works. You don't,
right.
There's no set questions. Is there somebody somebody in an industry that I wanted to interview? Well, just to recap, I've had health survivors. I've had people from alcohol and drug recovery. I've had musicians, magicians, actors, comedians, lawyers, authors, spirituality people.
Yeah.
I've even done I've done myself. That sounds wrong. I was so irritated one day that I did a 30-minute on the road.
Yeah.
it was one of those days where I was just pissed off, and I started recording while I was driving in LA traffic and did a little show there. Who do I want to interview? I really, really, really would love to interview. I know this is sound kind of weird, but I would love to interview a ghost hunter.
Okay.
Just to see why they're doing that. Because
Yeah.
I want to do it too. I would love to interview a pageant queen.
Okay.
Because I've interviewed a drag queen. I interviewed a drag queen very early on, in the first 100 episodes. Celeste Martinez, who is she used to do, still does shows in Dallas and is an old friend of mine. So I'd like to do a pageant queen. That sounded weird again. Yes, I want to do a pageant queen. Even they're not out yet, but I've already interviewed bodybuilder, several comedians, several actors. I've even interviewed my dad for a Spanish show. Yeah. And my sister.
You had your nephew and your brother-in-law.
Yes.
Your brother-in-law, Carlos, who he and I have had our fun Facebook discussions.
Yeah. Which he had his own show, actually.
He did too for a while, yeah.
Yeah, and the Spanish political show, which was a good show. He had a good show.
Yeah.
We've had several panels on entitlement and political correctness.
Yeah.
And then for those of you that missed it, my brother-in-law and his son, my nephew, I tried to interview them, but they kind of took over the show.
They just yell at each other.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a date stamp on it because it's relevant even now.
Yeah.
And that was like what, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. 4 years ago.
I feel like you did it a couple times. But they're good. They're good. They're entertaining together.
Yeah, because just for those of you listening, my brother-in-law is conservative, Republican, straight, and married. My nephew is Democrat, liberal, gay, and single.
Yeah.
And they were trying, I think I threw into the conversation gay marriage.
Yeah.
And I think
that was before it was legal, which has been 2015 is when that, so yeah.
And a couple of other topics, but they really had it on. And I wish I'd had video then, because I wasn't shooting video then. Because my sister, we were in their kitchen in South Texas, and my sister would just walk into the dining room and look at us and be like, and walk out. My other nephew was trying to be part of the conversation, and it never worked out.
Yeah.
And you just hear me going, okay, but. Okay, but.
Yeah.
But okay, never mind.
Man, and your nephew knows all the buttons to press too. That's the funniest part. He just knows every little one. I mean, as kids do with their parents, So I know what to do with my mom or dad.
Well, now when on our first trip with Christian, my boyfriend, because Christian and I met shortly after. I started in February. We met in May of the same year, 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
So on our first visit to Texas together, when I took him to go meet my family,
Yeah.
the very first thing I told Christian, do not talk politics with them. Do not. The moment they start, you shut up or you leave the room. You are not allowed to speak politics. And to this day, he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's spectator sport, and that's what it is sometimes.
It's for those of you, again, I will, if anything that I mention, any shows that I mention, I'll repost them so you guys can go back and listen to them. Because one of the cool things about this show is that a lot of the episodes are not time-stamped. You can listen to them anytime.
Yeah.
And they're relevant. They're relevant. But
well, yeah, especially stuff like you've had people that have talked about coming out or rehab experiences, things like that. That stuff's universal or evergreen, I guess they call it, and it's always useful.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cool things about the show, not because it's my show, but there is, as a listener, I can listen to some of the shows when I'm editing or stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. One of the coolest things, and I've gotten compliments on this, is that people feel very safe and welcomed. Mm-hmm. There's like we said in the beginning, there's no agenda.
Yeah,
I'm not there to probe them. Well, some of them are handsome enough. I would probe them, but that's not the point. But there's no agenda into what I want to get out of the conversation. It's their episode. They get to talk about whatever they want. So I just let them go. And we've gotten some really hidden secrets and gems out of people, which is really cool. Really cool. But,
there have been a couple where I'm like, I'll hear them say something and I go, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for you to get back to it, like pick out that thing. And most of the time you do, but every so often there's something and I'm like, no, go back to this. But they throw out like 5 things at once, and then the one that I find most interesting might not get, because there's too much.
Yeah, and I want to say that we have some pretty loyal followers too.
Yeah.
The one name that sticks in my head is David Gonzalez out of Phoenix.
Okay.
Who has been following the show almost from the beginning, and even through my cancer, he would send me messages. And then when I finally came back full force and with like this new batch of shows, because it did go through it didn't change, but I think I upgraded the way that I was interviewing people. I wasn't trying to be Oprah anymore. I wasn't trying to be Walters or Geraldo. I was like, I'm just gonna be me. And then after cancer, it went through this change where it was more about the heart of the people, and I was really happy that some of the people like David noticed, and they're like, wow, you changed your style and it's great. This is you. And I'm like, oh, yay.
Yeah. And I mean, for you and I have had conversations about it. You're like, I want to change how I do this or is this. I'm like, as always, I say it's your show. Of course, do whatever you need to do. But, so, I've known it was happening as it's been happening because you're telling me I want to do this, I want to do that differently. But I mean, like anything that grows, it is better than it was when it started, of course. But,
yeah. Some of those first interviews, I've gone back every once in a while to like listen, and I'm like, ooh, you were rough, dude. Like you might as well have been doing this in Spanish. Because it was just, oh my God, I had no clue what I was doing.
It's like, to me, the difference between being an interviewer and a conversationalist, which is what you're doing now. You're talking with people instead of like launching questions at them. You know what I mean?
Right. And
so questions come naturally.
Yeah.
As they should.
And in the pre-production, which is something different now, I have a pre-production interview, which I didn't do in the beginning. So I'll sit with them for a couple of minutes before the show and go, look, this is your episode. Wherever you want to start, I will follow you. Yeah. I stopped asking questions that I was interested in and had a conversation about things that they wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice when I'm done with an interview and they say, you know, I've never been asked those questions before, or I've never been able to talk about this in an interview. Thank you for letting me do that. And it's like, well, it's it's still my show, but it's your episode.
Yeah.
Whatever you do. And then people want to come back. Like, for instance, for those of you, okay, again, shortly after I started putting it together, I wanted to do a Spanish version, which we did about 32, 33 episodes, something like that. Maybe more?
It might have been more.
Maybe more?
I thought it was in the 80s, but yeah.
And so we had the Spanish version of this show, which was difficult to do. That one was hard to do. Because it was harder to, not to interview people, but to have people open up. And then we did Vita Positam, which was the all HIV show. So again, if you're listening and you're like, what was that about? Go back and listen. There's about the same amount of episodes in English in that show that there were in Spanish.
Yeah. About
HIV and AIDS, and you can go back. Again, some of those are time sensitive now because things have definitely changed over the last couple years.
Definitely.
So if we put them all together, I have about 300 episodes under my belt now. But
oh, you have more than that. I think you're closer to 400 total.
Wow.
I think so. Because I feel like it might have been, I feel like one of them was 80. I could look it up, but yeah, I think one of them got into the 80s. I feel like Vita Positam was the shorter one.
Yeah, it didn't last too long. Yeah.
On one topic, you can do so much, and it's fine to wrap it up. And, you know, not that it doesn't always change, but, you know, medicine and all, but how much can you do beyond what you've done on that one topic? Yeah.
How much sex can you have with one person before you're like, okay, next? Like,
or at all in general before
you're like, okay, like, you're not really surprising me anymore. Like,
yeah.
And then over the years, I used to have like pick a theme song every week for the guest.
Yeah.
And there was a time when my guests would choose the theme song that they wanted.
Oh, okay.
I would ask them like, hey, what theme song would you like to be introduced to?
Yeah.
And sometimes they had no clue, or I didn't like the song that they picked, so I would pick something different. But the important thing was to make them feel like they had a choice. That's the important. And then,
but not always according to Cam. He did not like all your choices.
No, he would tell me too, the asshole. But and then in the last year, Ryan Kalama, one of the Kalama brothers who has been on the show, was very kind to write the music and help me with the lyrics. So for those of you listening now, the theme song at the beginning of Put It Together is written by me with music by Ryan Kalama, original for our show. I was tired of finding music and I wanted something that would identify us, and that's the song.
Well, plus too, copyrighted stuff gets flagged on YouTube and Spotify and all that, so it was better to have something that you made and you owned, and then we would never have to worry about that. So having something pulled down or...
Yeah, and it did. There was a couple of times there were like, oh, like, I can't put that one up. And then, so now we have our own theme song. Then we've had spin-off stuff. So now there's Put It Together Conversations, which is a Facebook Live show, which we're now on, as of this recording, where we just did episode 3, which had a really high audience participation because it is a conversation show. So people come in to ask questions, and one of the coolest things that happened on this last episode, which Kai Kalama, the other part of the Kalama brothers, came on the show. I go through the family, and keep it in the family. You know how it is. He came on it, and he was a former contestant on American Idol the year that Adam Lambert participated.
Didn't he? I think he might have talked a little bit about that on the episode they were on together. Yeah, I remember that. So
on this episode of Put It Together Conversations, we talk about his career as an independent musician and his time on American Idol and how that happened and how that affected his. It's really interesting to find out that he was roommates with Adam Lambert.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any dirt on Adam Lambert. So, but we did do a shout out if Adam Lambert was watching that we wanted to out. So if anybody out there listening knows Adam Lambert, let him know we're looking.
Yeah, tell him he's being talked about.
But so that show has a theme song. Put Together Conversations has a theme music, which is Patrick Gutman, who I have not interviewed yet, but I've known him as long as I've had the show. So
Okay.
He wrote the music for that show.
That's good.
Put It Together also has another spin-off, which is in production right now, which is the pilot show for my talk show.
Right.
Because I don't do enough. And so I'll have to send that to you so you can see it.
Yeah.
We have Lunch with the Guys, which is a show about 5 guys, kind of the view for guys.
Yeah.
But we don't talk politics, sports, or religion. We really get into the depth of conversations then.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And that music for that show was written by Kai Kalama.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I'm just getting all this stuff from the Kalama brothers.
And out of those two.
And I'm not even putting out, which is really awesome. All this is for free. What else has happened through this? Oh, but I guess to round out the question that you asked me earlier, because I went off base. But yes, so I want to interview a ghost hunter. I'd like to interview a beauty pageant queen.
Right.
I'd like to interview a priest. Because I was raised Catholic, and I just kind of want to find out what motivated them.
Yeah.
I've had a minister. I've had a rabbi. This sounds like a joke.
Yeah. They went into a bar.
A drag queen, a rabbi, and a minister walk into Daniel's office. What else? Who else would I like to? Because I've interviewed you. I've interviewed single dads.
Yeah.
Adopted dads. I don't know what else I would like. I'd like to interview me at some point.
You even got a porn star not that long ago too, didn't you? Wasn't there a guy that was doing videos?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
I did a porn star.
That's right.
Yes. Oh my God. I forgot. I just blanked on his name.
Yeah, I can picture him because he's like super ripped, and he looks like he's full of Red Bull. And I do. That was interesting too, because you don't hear a lot of male porn stars interviewed.
Right, and
you hear a lot of women interviewed.
And he's a gay porn star.
Yeah.
So, but again, that was one of those interviews that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Shit, I wish I could remember right now what his name is. Now I have to look him up.
I know, you almost have to scroll.
But one of the really cool, interesting things about him is that the story did not go at all in the direction that I thought it was going to go.
Right.
I thought we were going to talk about the business or how porns are made, but he talked a little bit about what got him into porn. But then we started talking about his recovery and his spirituality. And I don't know if you listened to it.
Oh yeah.
But there's a couple of parts where he almost started crying.
Yeah.
Which I was totally blown away. I've never made a porn star cry, so without having sex with them first.
Well, that's either positive or negative. I don't know.
Yeah, I made him cry with my clothes on. Wait a minute. That doesn't sound very good.
It was sad when it was over. It's sad because he did it. Like, what's the angle you're going for? Because this doesn't sound great.
This is not very good to me. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't find him. But
yeah, it was a few months back. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll repost him. But his interview was pretty cool.
Yeah, his was good.
There are a couple of celebrities. For those of you that know Mary Pat Gleason,
Mm-hmm.
you might not know the name, but if you saw her face, you would recognize her.
Yeah.
She's done a
I
lot of
knew who
appearances.
she was immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, people look at me and they're like, I don't know. And then I show them the picture and they're like, oh yeah, I know her.
I just watched something with her in it too, and I can't remember what it was.
Some of the last things that she did, was Mom, the sitcom.
Right.
And she played Karen's maid in the new version, the new Will and Grace episodes, but she was only on for a couple of episodes. The last time because I've stayed friends with a lot of people that I interview. I remained friends with all of them. The last time I knew about her, she had gone through some health issues and she was out in New York, where she's from. But her, I can give this update, which is really totally cool. Excuse me. Folks, one thing that folks have asked me is like, how do you get guests to come on the show? I stalk them.
Yeah.
And I blackmail them.
Which you're pretty open about.
Yeah, I have no shame. I will stalk them. No, usually it happens that they're friends of friends, or I'll hear about them on the news or somewhere, and I'll be like, who's this person? And I'll start Googling them, and I'll find them on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and I will friend them everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? And usually people say no. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. Usually people say no. They're like, I don't know. And then I send them some links and I send them my info sheet and they're like, wow, you've been through a lot. And they're like, I'd love to come on your show. I've had some no's from people, which I will admit my ego gets hurt. And I texted you, right? Or messaged you after one of them said no to me.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to remember what it was, but I do remember that.
yeah, so I won't say any names. He's an actor and a comedian, and I was like, hey, and he wrote back saying, you know what, I think your show's a little heavy for me right now, and I don't want to go there.
That's right, yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, how dare you? How dare you say no to me? And I got really insulted, and then I came to you, and I'm like, guess what happened? And
yeah. Known comedians, though, I think that would be harder because they're all going on each other's shows, or they have their own shows, and so to go on with somebody they don't know might be a little more difficult, just because they're dealing with their friends and stuff like that all the time. So I always think comedians would be the hardest people to get, or more known comedians, because they're in high demand for that world, for this world. So
now I've been pretty fortunate that Chip Cope came on the show twice.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Richmond came on the show. Brian Sanders came on the show. Jason Stewart. Several people here, local LA people, have been on the show who are comics, and they get a little blown away of not how intense my show is. It's just you left to your own devices.
Yeah,
you can go pretty deep in a conversation because nobody's stopping you, and
you start spilling.
Yeah, it's really cool. I recently approached. I don't know if you're familiar with the judges on TV.
Not too much.
Okay,
no.
so Judge Alex, and he doesn't know this yet.
Okay.
He listens to this episode, but after I got out of rehab,
mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to go back to serving tables anymore, and I did for a little bit, but I wanted to do something different. So that's when I started doing promotional work and some local acting in Houston.
Yeah.
The Judge Alex show used to be filmed at the Fox Studios in Houston. That's where the studio was. Then it moved to New York, I believe, or Florida, one of the two. So while I was shooting in Houston, I was part of the audience. So they would pay us to come in and sit on the audience. And basically you get paid to ooh and ah and laugh and point and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so one of my first acting gigs as background was sitting in Judge Alex's audience in the courtroom.
Nice.
So fast forward, almost 12 years later, I sent him a message on Facebook and I said, hey, would you be on my podcast? And I sent him the link and my info sheet, and he wrote me back and said, find me on Twitter. I'll message you there. So I was like, okay, cool. So I followed him, messaged him. I gave him my number. So on Wednesday morning, I wake up and there's a message, and he's like, hey, I'd like to talk to you first before I agree. I'm like, sure, here's my phone number. You know, you can call me tomorrow or whatever. And he's like, well, can I call you now? And I was just getting out of the shower. So I was like, sure. So I put underwear first before I answered the phone. So sure. And I'm like, sure. So Judge Alex out of Florida calls me at like 7:00 in the morning to agree to be on the show. So we're just finding the right dates. And I'm like, I'm almost peeing myself. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So now all of you can pause the show for a minute, go Google Judge Alex. So
I bet if I see his face, I'll know, because like just daytime TV, I don't see a lot of. I'm not good with a lot of reality stuff either. Oh, I know who this guy is. Okay. Yeah. He looks like he could be related to Rob Riggle. That's what I always think when I see him. Or Rob Riggle would do his character on SNL. Like that would be.
Okay.
He has a similar look.
Yeah.
Like they'd be first cousins or something, you know?
Well, he's pretty tall. He reminded me of, what was his name? Fred
Gwynn.
Yes.
Yes. Because
Herman Munster. Yeah. A better looking, if you're listening, Judge Alex, you're a better looking Herman Munster.
Hey, Fred Gwynn, you ever see the Car 54 days? He's a handsome
guy. He was a handsome and tall too. So yes.
That's good company, Fred Gwynn and Rob Riggle. So
we're about 30 minutes in, 35 minutes in. I lost track of time.
Something like that.
We started like at 10 after, so yeah, we're 30 minutes in.
Okay.
So let's see, what else? I guess I'm open. If you want to ask me another question, right. I'm open right now.
You've talked about some of the more difficult things you've gone through a little bit here and there on the show, and I'm big on silver linings. Like something horrendous could have a huge positive to it somewhere down the line. I look for that stuff because I need to. I need to have purpose to whatever horrible thing I've been through. And I'm usually able to find it. What is the worst thing you've dealt with that had the biggest silver lining to it? And we know, cancer, AIDS, recovery, a lot of negatives that turned into positives. But what is that biggest gap from the worst negative to the biggest positive, do you think?
Honestly, I think that the biggest negative to positive, I think HIV has really been, because it was the first. Oh no, that wasn't the first thing. Because most of you listening know, like Kevin says, I on every show and that's part of the deal to make my guests comfortable. I'm like, hey, look, here's a little bit of me. Mm-hmm. I'll meet you halfway. I think you want to make me cry, don't you? That's the deal. Fuck you, Moyers. Because I've made people cry on the show before, so that's for
Well, here, I'll tell you. You want to talk about a cry thing? We just did 3 straight weeks of conventions. The first one we did was a small one in San Diego, but we made a little trip out of it because it was Casey's my daughter, for the audience, her spring break. So we went to San Diego Zoo. And the first thing we hit was the reptile house. And I'm in there and I'm enjoying every bit these like beautiful animals. And I feel myself starting to cry. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
No way.
I was so just in awe of what I was looking at, all these amazing creatures. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I mean, I know what led to that part of me kind of being more on the surface. So, like, if you want to talk about a crazy cry moment, like, that's not crying in movies, just enjoying this so much that I got, like, choked up. And I'm like, what the? And it hit me that it was happening and it stopped it. You know, not with intent to stop it, but it was just like, whoa, what's that? So.
Okay, you gave me some time to think about it. I think that the biggest thing and the first thing that had like a huge impact in my life, I was bullied as a kid. I've talked about that before. So I grew up in Dallas, and I was bullied because I was different, and I knew that I was different. And you know, as kids, we can pinpoint the weirdest kid and just go after it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, my bullies were also my abusers. So I was also molested by other kids.
Yeah.
Who are my bullies. And that caused me to make a decision right when I started 6th grade. I was like, I don't want to do this. And you know what happened was one of the bullies told me, what are you going to do when you get to junior high? Are you going to suck dick too?
Yeah.
And that made a huge impression in my brain because I was like, this is not going to stop. This is only going to get worse. So during the beginning of 6th grade, I kept telling my mom, I want to go back. I want to go to Mexico. I want to go to Mexico. I don't want to go to school here anymore. I want to move. I want to move. I don't know to this date if my parents actually knew why I wanted to move. They never asked me for real, and I never gave them a legitimate answer. So I ended up transferring to Mexico in Christmas break. So I started January in Mexico.
Okay.
And, fuck you. For a long time, I regretted that. I regretted putting myself through that because I was a pretty smart kid. I was pretty intelligent, and I knew that I would not survive somehow. Like something about me was not going to be able to survive being bullied and harassed and I moved to Mexico, and everybody in Mexico thought I was just a little eccentric.
Yeah.
Because I came from Dallas, and they were like, oh, he's from Dallas. He's from Texas. They're like, oh, okay. But I became pretty popular. And to this date, a lot of the kids that I grew up with remember me and remember how much, I mean, they don't remember any of the sadness or frustration. They just remember me happy and we're still friends. So for a long, long time, I regretted that because I would hear people talk about prom and graduation and reunions because I'll be 48. I'll be 49 this year.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that in Mexico when I was in school. And I always regretted that. I always wanted to be part of it. But now that I'm older, I look back and that decision as an 11-year-old kid is what got me to where I am now. And yes, there's been some horrific shit in the middle.
Yeah.
But I get to go to conferences. I get to speak at schools. I have an acting career. I have this show. I have friends like you that support me. I have some really cool things in my life. And if it hadn't been because as an 11-year-old, I made a decision and said, I'm not going to stay in this. I'm going to separate myself from the toxic. And had I not made that decision, I would not be where I am now, probably.
Yeah. That's good. And I get the, like, I should have, but, I thought about stuff like that in my life too. And I'm like, no, cause then I wouldn't have this. There's that domino effect of one thing leading to another. And you figured out how to get yourself out of a bad situation, which really, if you look at it later, you were able to do the same thing with drugs and alcohol. You had already experienced pulling yourself out of a bad situation, and you were able to do it again later as an adult. It's like the precursor to it in a way.
Yeah.
So,
and then every time I do an episode and I get to talk to somebody, and I'm sure people who listen to the show regularly are thinking, there's no fucking possible way you have been through everything you've been through. Like, you're just making it up at this point. Like,
yeah.
But quite honestly, yeah, I've in 48 years, I've managed to put a lot of life into it. Like,
yeah.
A lot. Like, if I were a memory card, I'd be like, you can't fit more shit in here. Look,
we need a few terabytes here. Let's go.
But
upgrade that Dropbox.
But God is good to me, and the universe opens paths. And just when I think it's about to shut up, and there's a new path that opens, kind of like Indiana Jones, there's a new path to go through, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, let's go do it. So
and that is true too, because we've had discussions plenty where you get frustrated and stuff like that, and then 2 days later, here comes something else. Like I sure I've told you before, I quit quitting because with writing and stuff, I felt like I was going nowhere, and every time I quit, it was never for an entire day, because it'd be 4 or 5. When I made the definitive, I'm done, I can't do this shit anymore, I'm not getting it. And then 3-4 hours later, here comes a new idea. I'm like, fuck, that's good. I want to do that. So it's just like, there's always something this is the path you belong on. I mean, that's all there is to it. And there's always something that just, an acorn hitting you in the head, like to remind you, no, dummy, keep going. Stop giving up. This is this. So
yeah.
We both had those experiences over the last few years. So.
And I've shared with you, you're at least in my life, you're a great motivator. I watch you and I'm like, okay, Moyers is doing all this. People don't realize that I'm in constant competition with everybody. They don't even know I'm competing with them. But if you're listening right now and I know you personally, I'm probably competing with you at some level. You don't know, but I'm winning anyway, so don't worry about it. I'm kicking your ass. But it's people like you that I watch and I'm like, okay, I've been writing a book for a long time. But I have a lot of things on social media that I work on, so it takes a lot of time. I have a script that I've been working on for about 5 years, and I keep rewriting it. But I've come to watching people like you, and like, okay, just find your lane and stick with it, and you'll succeed. And for me, it's been creating all these little spin-off shows that people are like, oh, that was pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I know. I did it. Fuck you. Don't let this Mexicanist fool you. I'm smart. I'm not just about tacos, people.
You're 80% about tacos. Let's get real.
Which after this, I'm going to go meet some friends for dinner, and I'm having tacos because I know.
I picture when you take a nap, instead of, you see in the cartoons, the little sheep jump over the log, it's just a little taco jumping over.
In my head, there's this tortilla, and the meat starts falling into it, and the salsa, and that's why I fall asleep. Thank you, tacos. Thank you, tacos.
Yeah, when you were here in around Labor Day weekend, when you came out here and spent the weekend here, I think almost every meal was tacos.
Yeah, I even made tacos for dinner.
Yeah. Yes.
I was like, I'm cooking for you.
Yeah.
I didn't even ask when I'm like, I'm gonna make you tacos. Like,
we're getting tacos. Yeah. Whataburger was the one exception that I remember.
I love Whataburger. So for those of you that follow the show, you probably know by now because I do reference them almost every time. I was born in Mexico, raised in Texas, so I'm like an original Tex-Mex.
Mm-hmm.
I love Whataburger. In fact, I love Whataburger so much. My very first adult job was at Whataburger. I think I mentioned that to you. My first actual paying adult job was Whataburger, and every time I go to Whataburger anywhere,
Yes.
I make sure to let them know that my first job was Whataburger. Not that they give a shit or care.
Yeah. No. I remember you telling the cashier, you know, my first job.
Oh, and I've been back to the Whataburger where I worked. This is in Dallas, Texas. So for those of you who are listening, if you're in Dallas, Texas, almost at the corner of 35 and 635 on, I think it's Royal Lane. It's right there in the corner, right off the freeway. I worked at that Whataburger from the beginning. It was like a brand new store. And yes, I'm going to tell the story, so everybody shut up. So my parents, and I don't think I even shared the story with you. Okay, so this is how that happened. I was flunking out of school, and this is when I came out, and my parents were like, "We're pulling you out for a semester. You're going back to Dallas." So they took me back to Dallas, skip a semester, and my dad's like, "You're going to get a job," and I was like, "I haven't worked. Like, what am I supposed to do?" So my mom gave me my social security card and my passport at the time, and she was like, we're going to go take you to find a job. And I'm like, how am I supposed to look for a job? Like, I don't know. I've never looked for a job. Like, I've looked for dates, but I've never looked for a job. So they dropped me off on this corner.
Yeah.
Because there was all these factories nearby. And my dad's like, start walking, go look for a job. And I was like, well, shit. So the first sign I see is this new Whataburger that they're building, and they've got the little trailer thing, and they're like, hiring. And I'm like, I'll go in there. So my very first boss, I don't remember his last name. His name was Larry. He was this white guy. He was kind of heavy set and, just the nicest guy ever. And he's like, have you ever worked? I'm like, no. And I told him the story, and he was like, so they just dropped you off? I'm like, yes. He goes, do you know where you are? I'm like, not really. Like, I don't have no clue. He's like, okay. So he's like, well, fill an application out. So I filled the application out, and he's like, so what are you going to do now? I'm like, I guess go walk and look for a job. He's like, well, I need help setting up stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to work today? And I'll just pay you cash. I'm like, sure. I'm like, that's how this works? I'm like, is this adulting? I've got it down. So I'm helping them clean stuff and set up stuff. And he's like, you've got a job. He's like, why don't you show up tomorrow and just help me start setting up? Now that you know where everything goes, start setting up. So he drops me off like downtown to catch the bus, because I have to catch 2 buses to get to work. Okay. So he drops me off downtown to catch the other bus. I get home, my parents get home, and they're like, you looking for work? I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, how many places did you go to? I'm like, 1. And my dad's like, you went to 1? You think you're getting a job if you go to 1? I'm like, I already have a job. I start tomorrow. He's like, what? I'm like, booyah, fucker. No, I didn't say that, because I was only like 17. He would have kicked my ass.
Just in your head.
Yeah, but in my head, I was like, órale, mexicano. I got me a job, dude. And, so that was my very, very first job. And then I lied, because I was supposed to be a cook.
Yeah.
When they sent me to train in another store, I told them I was a cashier, because that's what I am. And, I ended up being, one of the, like, a supervisor at the store. So that was my very first job at Whataburger.
That's cool. How old were you?
I was like 17.
Yeah. That's cool. That's good.
So if I'd known then how, like, lucky I was, I probably would have, my life would have probably been different, but I was too stupid to, like, know what I just wanted to get laid and drink, and that was it.
Yeah. I wanted to do that at 17. I did the drinking part. It took me another year to get laid.
But that was my first gigs, and here I am now.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I still know how to cook a Whataburger.
Yeah.
Still remember the Whataburger way. But yes, for those of you, I even have a Whataburger cap. I should have put it on today.
Yeah.
I ordered a Whataburger cap and I wore it to New York and people were like, is that from Texas? I'm like, of course from Texas, fuckers. Whataburger. Anyway.
It's funny, when I first moved to Phoenix, I loved Jack in the Box and I hated Whataburger. But now Jack in the Box makes me sick if I eat it, so I don't go near it. But when we had Whataburger when you were here, that's the first time I'd had it in a long time. I was like, this is actually pretty good. So I think my views have changed on it.
You're welcome.
Yes. Maybe they just put some extra special care into it because you were part of the crew.
they recognize the Whataburger way.
Yeah.
They should give us a pin. Hi, I'm Whataburger.
They threw up W's. Not West Side. Whataburger.
I cook Whataburgers in Dallas, Texas. So we are at 50 minutes about.
Okay.
I don't know what else to talk about.
Well, let's go. I'll ask you the question you ask everybody. And I can answer it, too, because I've thought about it enough times knowing you'd eventually ask me. And because I don't remember if you were doing it a year ago. But what's the first line in your book?
Oh, yeah. I started that in 2019. That's part of the new part. Okay, for everybody listening, if this is the first time you're listening, that's part of the questions that I ask all my guests. If when they write the book of Daniel Garza, what's the first line in the book? He was born a loser and made it work for him.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good start.
I was sick from the time I was a baby.
Yeah.
I had the story is that I wouldn't eat. But the story is that I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't process the milk. So my mom would feed me with a dropper.
Okay.
Just to make sure that I didn't lose weight. But the doctor that gave me birth, I guess, is actually an uncle. He's my dad's brother-in-law.
Okay.
So it's all in the family. So he kept telling my mom, if he doesn't gain weight, he's going to die. And the joke in the family, I don't know why it's a joke. We're all perverted. But the joke in the family was that my mom would say, he's crying all the time. He's fussy. It looks like he's hurting. Like God should just take him away and just like put him out of his misery. And that the doctor would tell her, like, I'm going to tell him when he grows up that you wanted him to die. And then my mom would cry. It's like, I don't want to do that. Fast forward years later, I've flatlined 5 times in my life over doing different things. And my sister, Juanita, her joke, she's the oldest sister, she lives in Mexico. Her joke to me is like, don't you know how to die? Because I'm always almost right there, and then I don't. Yeah. So the line of my book was like, he was born a loser, but he made it anyway. So.
I like that. That's good. And that's crazy because, you have been like Mr. Invincible here, even in the time that I've known you. So,
yeah. Yeah, well, cancer almost took me.
Yeah.
It literally and figuratively knocked me on my ass.
Yeah.
But I flatlined twice during cancer.
Yeah.
In hospital.
I know you've told me that.
Yeah. And one I remember. The second one I don't remember going out.
Yeah.
But here I am.
I will say my favorite story from you having cancer, it's funny, is when you were telling Christian to just smother you with a pillow and pull you out of your misery. And he told you to shut up.
So, okay, I'll make this one quick. I feel like we're going to go over the hour anyway, so.
That's all right. We always do.
Don't we?
Yeah.
So for those of you, it was anal cancer, and I had a lot of complications with radiation, which just caused a lot of trouble. I had to wear diapers for a while, and almost everything I ate caused problems. So I continuously had to get in the shower and just freshen up. So this one particular day, I'd probably taken like 5 or 7 showers and I was just exhausted. And it's midnight and Christian's like, you need to get in the shower before you go to bed. And I was just exhausted. I was just like, I just want to go to bed. And I get in the shower and come out and I'm just like, I mean, drama, Lifetime movie of the week, crying. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so tired. And I was like, if I go to bed, will you just smother me with a pillow? And then I don't want to die. And he was like, I can't do that. I'm like, I'll make a video. I'll tell them I told you to kill me. And Christian is just serious. Like, no emotions. Like, it doesn't work that way, honey. I'm like, I'll write a letter. I'll call somebody. He's like, shut up. Take the Motrin. Go to bed. Well, then give me more Motrin. He's like, it doesn't work that way. Just shut up and go to bed. Finally, the Motrin kicked in. I passed out in the morning.
Yeah.
But I was ready, man. I was done with it.
Yeah. Like, in the moment, that couldn't have been funny. But now, like, hearing it later, just the whole, I'm going to write you a letter. I'll do a video.
I'll do a video that I told you to kill me. And Christian is just, I mean, you guys probably heard Christian on the show, but just serious, just blank face.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. No, and he didn't say honey. I don't think he said honey. It's like, it doesn't work that way, Daniel. And I know when he says Daniel, it's serious shit. And I was like, fucker, he's not going to kill me. If you love me, you would kill me. But, oh my God, that's crazy. Remember that story?
That's so funny to me. Because, I mean, again, in hindsight, but yeah. You could make that such, like, if that's a movie scene, that would be the most melodramatic.
Oh, that's like Steel Magnolias when Julia Roberts dies. Like, why? Why? Yeah, that's my moment right there. Unfortunately, in the movie part, like, I'm dying and, oh no, I would have that part. I would be like, no, why?
Yeah.
Yes. One day, it'll be in the book.
One day.
So in your book, what's your first line?
Mine's pretty easy because I've said it many times, is I have a very weird life. And that would be just descriptive of everything because, I mean, really, I want to say in January, we did the Tempe Library out here. They've been doing it a couple years now. It's the second time we participated, but they have this whole like outdoor Comic-Con sort of. And you have your tent set up and libraries doing their own little Comic-Cons is kind of a new thing. So people are a little confused, like what's going on? I'm at a library to get a free book. Why do I have to spend money? You know, so you might spend, I might sell like, I think I sold 6 books that day, but it's fine. It's a free table, no big deal. And Casey convinced me to go to Portillo's, which is a Chicago hot dog place. It's like a big deal in Chicago, and they have a couple of them out here. So we go there, and we're sitting after eating. It's maybe like, I don't know, 6 in the evening. And I'm watching. It's a Sunday. And I'm watching these families come in, and they're sitting down and just having their thing. And I'm thinking about what their day is like. Like maybe they woke up, they're like, you want to go to Target today? And they're like, they're bored, so bored with their own existence that they just need to get out of the house to do something. Meanwhile, we just spent the day talking to people, selling books. And I'm like, what we're doing is extraordinary compared to most people's lives, you know? And I know I messaged you that day too. Like it was this epiphany moment for me. Like, man, we really do live a completely different life. Yeah, I still have a day job and she still has to go to school and stuff, but most people don't do this stuff.
Right.
You know, even the t-shirt I'm wearing now, it's for Tapestry Comics. It's another local guy. He was like 2 tables over from us getting sunburned because he forgot to bring sunscreen in a tent. Thankfully, I had sunscreen. I made him put it on. Like, here, I sent Dalen over there. Give him the sunscreen. He's a pale guy. He's gonna burn. But you know, just like it's very unique what we do. You know, going to San Diego, to El Paso in a couple weeks, which, you know, I did last year after we talked, and it was like I thought it would be nothing. And I sold every book that I brought. We had people come from Juarez, from Las Cruces, other small places in Texas. Like you never know what is going to come next. And it really is crazy. I mean, in that same weekend, a book I worked on is getting released as a movie. I mean, that's crazy.
That's pretty awesome. We'll have to do a show on that when we.
Yeah.
Because I've already have you on my list, but I want to sit down and talk about, in the conversation series, talk about being an independent publisher and getting your own stuff out. I think a lot of people want to do it. They're just fearful of it. So for those of you listening, we're almost coming to the end, which is usually when I ask these questions anyway. So part of the 2019 series of interviews has if you wrote a book of your life, what would be the first sentence, which we already answered. The second question I usually ask is, if you could name this episode, what would you name it?
I almost say, like, how did we get here?
True. I was thinking, like, is it together yet? Because
are we together yet?
Yeah,
we are.
Every episode pretty much starts off with me asking somebody, blank, 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 how do you put it together? And like after 7 years, like, is it together yet? Because it's like, one of the things that I was kind of like wanting, for those of you, we've rescheduled this conversation probably like 5 times.
Yeah.
That we were going to do it. Either Mr. Moyers had something come up or I had something come up. But quite honestly, on my side is I suffer from anxiety. I get into these panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not going to happen. So I was a little anxious about doing this interview. I don't know why. And well, I do know why. And it sounds more dramatic than it is. Of course, it's my life, so it has to be more dramatic than it is. But part of my anxiety and my panic tells me that, I guess for some reason I feel like I live in a rom-com, that like when everything good is happening around me, that's when like the main character dies or something horrific happens, and my anxiety tells me that if things are really this good, something bad's about to happen. And that's just PTSD from all the health issues that I've had. Every time things are going good, my health kicks in somehow and just runs havoc.
Right.
So I was a little bit intimidated to do this because I'm like, as soon as we record it, something horrible is going to happen. They're going to have to go into my Zoom account and find this episode and put it out there, post-mortem and I was going to say postpartum. No, I'm not pregnant. And they're going to find it and they'll be like, this was episode 250, but it never got released. And now we're going to release it. And that's when I'll win a podcast award or some shit. So that was my mentality. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Which I did, but here we are. Yeah. So. Well, it's on my end too. There were a couple days like that where like, I don't feel like doing this right now or I get kind of spun out with the ADD, just like it takes me in all these different directions and I lose time and I'm like, how the fuck did I get to this right now? And I should be doing this and stuff like that. So that's part of it too. And then I forget. We both forgot a couple of times. Like, well, we're going to record? Oh yeah, but I'm busy now. Okay, bye. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, that's fine. But, I've said this, I've said this 250 times now, at least, but, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're welcome. One of the biggest, and I've discovered this lately through my therapy, is that in order for me to not get anxious and panic and depressed is I've got to keep my mind busy. I've got to keep it focused on something. Otherwise, it definitely falls into that hole. And being part of Abnormal Entertainment for the last 7 years has always been a motivator for me to keep going. It's pushed me to meet people.
Mhm.
It pushed me to get out of my own way sometimes and be like, this isn't about you. This is about interviewing somebody. Somebody has a really great story and somebody else needs to listen to it. I'm just the conduit for it. But I miss Mr. Harston. He was a great person to have in your corner. And I love you. And
I love you too.
and thank you. And
You're getting choked up. I'm getting the same way now because yes.
Before I get all, I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah, we both are at this point.
For those of you that have been listening, Mr. Kevin Moyers is on the show today. We are celebrating 250 episodes, which you can find this. This will be the first one that I post up there. You'll find this on the podcast at abnormalentertainment.com and on YouTube at Daniel G. Garza on YouTube. So go check it out. So if you want to see us, what we're talking, you can go check it out. There will be more videos. I have a lot of videos saved up from over the years that I will post so you guys can check out on some of my guests. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We have put it together conversations, the spinoff of this show. This is where some of the guests come back and talk about their areas of expertise in an effort to give you some suggestions or some ideas on how to proceed with your own careers, passions, and or hobbies. So we'll have Mr. Moyers come back and talk about independent publishing and his books and how he put that together. I want to thank y'all. I want to thank you guys. Whether you're a one-time listener or you're a follower or you subscribed to this page, I want to thank you because I get the messages, I get the feedback, I get the likes or the comments, I get the referrals. There is Courtney Blair out of here of Temecula who has been referring guests over to me.
Nice.
So she has her own company and she finds people interviews and she's been sending people over. So thank you, Courtney. Thank you, David Gonzalez, for listening all these years. Thank you for everybody who followed me through cancer. And thank you to my family and friends. 250 says it's said easy, but it's been an amazing journey. And I don't know you, but I love you guys just because you're there for me. So thank you so much. I don't know that I can continue talking without breaking down. So
I understand that. I do understand that. So,
anything you want to say before we go?
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So, and you got a lot more to do. So we'll keep motivating each other.
I've got to come back out and make some guacamole.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. Jeff will be over here in like 2 seconds for that.
Yes. I can't forget to thank all of the Abnormal Entertainment brothers that have been there through the years. Those that came and those that went.
Mm-hmm.
Those that still have a show and those that were there for a little while, including my brother-in-law Carlos Ramones, who was on here for a little while. The BS boys who are no longer around. So many people that we've met along the way.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. And by the way, this was a shirt. I put this on today. Put it together shirt. I made this shirt special for the Phoenix conference.
Yeah.
Comic-Con. I had it made to go there, and then I gained a lot of weight that year, and it looks stupid. That's why I've never posted the pictures because I looked really fat in it. But this was the shirt, and this was the original logo to put it together.
Yeah.
It's changed a couple of times over the years. But this was the original logo. So, this is it. Again, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you, Mr. Moyers. I love you, man. Thank you so much.
I love you too.
Everybody, I've already told you where to find us. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Go check us out at abnormalentertainment.com. You can find all the shows on the network. And again, a big thank you to Mr. Moyers. Thank you, sir. Inviting all of y'all. Check us out. For now, this is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.